Hello and welcome. You're about to hear the personal stories of some hard-working self-starters who've taken the leap of faith to build a business of their own right here in Polk County. This is Polk Entrepreneur. Welcome to Polk Entrepreneur. I'm Stephen Barnes. For many, retirement is the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. It's a time to relax, travel, spend time with family, or take up a new hobby. But for those with the appetite for adventure and the stomach for risk, it can be a great time to open a new chapter in their life. For this former jury and support supervisor, retirement wasn't on the menu. This is the story of Shayann Jones-Teris and the restaurant she built from the ground up, especially for you.
I was a supervisor in the jury and support service division of the clerk of courts. I had management skills, dealing with employees, irate customers, and pretty much everything to do with employees. It helped me by learning employment skills, how to interview, payroll, how to do your staff payroll sheets, how to put out fires with individuals when they get in the heat of discussions, and also how to relate to the employees of themselves. I did a lot of cooking for the staff there at the clerk's office in my division. We did birthdays, holidays, whatever I cooked for the staff. So, and they enjoyed it. So when I decided to retire after 30 years with the clerk's office, I decided to retire. And I stayed retired about 3 years, and I decided that I wanted to do something, and the only thing I knew how to do was to cook. So that's how I opened up my own business. Once we found the building, and from ground zero all the way up, it was a plumbing place. It used a lot of my customers come in and tell me that the lady that owned it before I did, her name was Coon Plumbing. And they always come in and tell me stories. Matter of fact, one lady came in and gave me some old photos of Coon Plumbing and tell me this what the building was before I came in. So no restaurant, no equipment, just the walls. I had a little money myself for my retirement, and then I had to go seek other help to try to help finance it, such as the CRA here in Bartow. I just had to fill out an application and give them a kind of like a business plan of what I was going to do, what I wanted to do, and how I was going to do it. And then they had a meeting and decided whether they was going to finance the loan or not. It was kind of difficult because, you know, you have stuff in your mind, but it's hard to put it on paper. But once I got my mind set that I had to do it in order to get the money, it wasn't a problem. I just had to write down what I was going to do, how I was going to do, how much staff I was going to have, you know, the type of food I was going to serve, stuff like that. Because if you don't plan your strategy and have an outline of what you're going to do, and then you just start doing all kinds of things, that's not, but as long as you got a guideline of what you're going to do, it kind of keep you on point. Because I was thinking about doing another business loan to expand, because I never thought the business was going to grow as fast as it did. So I looked at it and I was like, wow, I never thought we would get this far, but it happened. And it was pretty much on point, because the things I wanted to do, the food I wanted to serve, everything was pretty much on point. But I had no idea that I was going to expand or grow as fast as I did. I had no idea, but we have done great so far. Well, this was my first adventure stepping out. I didn't have too much patience in it. It looked like it wasn't going to happen, because I had a lot of license and stuff I had to go through, a lot of inspections you had to go through, and then after I did a business plan, then I had to draw up a plan for the business, a floor plan. I had to get that drawn up, and then it was just hard to try to do whatever you needed to have done, because I had three types of license I had to have. And then I had the food company inspections. I had to have food inspection, And then I had to have the city inspection, the county inspection. Everybody was coming in to inspect. So a lot of stuff I had to read up on and call some people that had been down this road before, talk to them and get some ideas of what all I had to have. And then once I opened my doors, there was still a couple of things that I didn't have, but I had good people that came in and said, look, you need to take care of this and take care of that, and it worked out for me. Because everybody was, they be wanting to see you succeed. And I'm the same way myself now. When someone called me and said, what you doing, I tell them, the same thing everybody told me when I first started out. Well, the first, we opened up, I had one server, a cashier, and 2 staff in the kitchen. And the first week I opened up, people walked out because I couldn't handle them. I had a packed house the first week. Because when I opened up from just for like a lunch from 11 to 3. And when 3 o'clock came, I was like, yes. So I had no idea it was going to be like that, but it was great. It was a different kind of food that people here in Bartow wanted to have. Real Southern food, like fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, meatloaf, mashed potatoes and gravy, cornbread, chicken and dumplings, liver and onions. I can go on and on and on. Yeah, so just really comfort foods. And that's all I've cooked all my life. So it was, as far as the food was concerned, that was easy. When I opened up, it was originally supposed to have been catering, but the catering didn't kick off when I first started. You have to get your name out there. And I had a couple of other large caterers here in Bartow that was really, their name was already out there. So I was new kid on the block, so I had to come and prove myself. So about 6 months after we opened the restaurant, I started getting a couple of jobs. It wasn't much, but it was something. And then we went from little to, we kept increasing on that. Really, I imagine about the last year or so, when someone called me and they would say, well, we're having a wedding. And I was like, okay, what kind of food would you like? And they was like, well, what do you offer? I said, well, I got roast beef, and they said, well, I really was looking something like some fried chicken, some smothered pork chop, some broccoli casserole, sweet potato casserole. And I went, oh, really? Said, yeah. So, and then I started hiring more staff, trying it, and then it's been uphill ever since. Once we grew, and then I had to get a secretary because I couldn't cook and do the paperwork. So I chose to cook because that was more my forte than doing the paperwork. So I got a secretary to come in, and she was doing payroll, and we kept adding staff and adding staff until finally it was like, it's time for us to do a payroll company. We operated in red for a while. By the time you think you got some money, you got to pay the light bill, you have to pay the mortgage. It's definitely the mortgage. So I imagine after about 4 years, most people say after 3 years, you can pretty much see a profit. It was about 4 years because we had a lot of stuff that we had invested, because I had to buy all new equipment. Everything here, it wasn't like most people when they get a restaurant, they get them with the equipment already in them. Well, we put all our equipment in here. Our stoves, dishwashers, refrigerators, ovens, everything was brought and placed in here. So we had a lot of debt that we was in for a while. So it took us about 4 years before I could finally see the green light come on. And I was like, yes, I could take a breath now. Everybody want to go try out the new restaurant in town. You jam-packed the first couple of weeks. Let's go try the new restaurant in town. Then after a while, it kind of like fades down. So you be standing here looking like no one is coming in today. But what you do is just keep doing, keep sending out good food. And try to talk to people to see what you can do to try to get people in the door. And it works pretty good. But most of my customers come in because somebody recommended us. I had a customer in here today. She said, I've been hearing so much about you. I want to try your food. And I went, come on in. I was at the doctor's office one day this week, and she said, oh, you did special for you, lady. And I was like, thanks a lot. Yeah, so we got to get down there. Everybody, and I let everybody know if the food is good, please tell somebody and invite somebody in. So most of my customers that's come in through the door is word of mouth customers. And when I worked at the clerk's office, I was over customer service, and they were a stickler for customer service. And I tell everybody that I hire here at my restaurants and my servers, I said, y'all came to the wrong place because I'm a customer service guru. I'm sorry. I believe in, making my customers happy. I tell them all the time, I say, make sure my customers are happy. I don't care what it takes. You talk about anything, the cat, the dog, whatever. Make my customer happy when they leave here. When the plates come out the kitchen, you want to be top notch. And that's the way I was. So I go in the kitchen to make sure that everything is right for my customers, make sure they're satisfied. So that's why I say it's more important to be into the kitchen and make sure that everything's come out that it looks good and it's cooked and it's prepared right. You know, that's one thing you got to realize. And when you really enjoy doing something, no matter what it costs or what it takes to do it, you know, you're going to put it in there, and you're going to have faith and believe that eventually it's going to come through. So that's what had happened for me. I've invested my money, and I'm, you know, getting it back, a little bit of it back now. So my family supports me. Whatever I'm trying to do, or even they even advise me on a lot of things that I don't know, or sometimes I'm really feeling down and out about a lot of stuff. They encourage me, and that takes a lot. If you got a family that behind you and encourage you to do something, to do your dream, and regardless of what, that's a big help. I have my daughter, my husband, my granddaughters, everybody come in and help. Matter of fact, my daughter's the one that does all my delicious cakes, homemade, everything from scratch. Most of my recipes and the way I cook is passed down from my mama. My mama was the world's greatest cook, and I learned a lot of my cooking from her. Someone walk out the door rubbing their stomach and somebody, what a great meal they just had, and I have a smile on my face, and I'm glad they're happy. And I've always said, and make sure what you do, you have a passion for it, because anytime that you got a passion for something, you love doing it, you're going to do whatever it takes to make it succeed. And that's what I've done. I've done whatever to be a success. My business is a success, so if I walk away today, I can walk away with my head up and say that I've had a successful business.
As an immigrant from Pakistan, Salman Siddiqui was able to realize his dream of working in the United States as a corporate IT professional and teacher. But after a family vacation to Florida, he realized that his love for his family and his passion for IT could take him to new places. This is the story of Salman Siddiqui and all your computer services.
I was doing my high school, and but I wanted to leave the country for a better life and better education, perhaps. So I tried to tell my parents, hey, I've applied for Moscow in Russia and in Cyprus, and I was accepted in both universities. But my parents, towards the end of the journey, they decided not to consent the forms. I was underage, and so at that very moment, I didn't have those thoughts at all. All I had was, I need to leave for a better life, and I knew the United States is the ultimate destination for me if I were to leave at that moment. However, my brother had recommended I should go to Australia and do my MBA and so forth, and come back and take care of the businesses. And sort of back in the head, I'm like, no, this is not what I like to do. I had been in computers, and I've done a lot of certifications back home with Microsoft and so forth at a very early age. So I knew what I wanted to do. It was my passion. So I tried to tell my brother, hey, no, maybe I'll try this, and if I'm not successful, absolutely I'll take your advice and go back and do whatever you asked me. However, I came to the States finally, after a bit of a struggle, of course, lots of obstacles. Made it to the States and did my computer science. Did a lot of odd jobs. Didn't like them at all. Long nights, long shifts, wasn't used to it. And anyways, the language was also an issue for me, of course. I hadn't spoken a word of English. But then I very quickly realized that I have to learn the language and the culture if I want to be successful here. So I did that forcefully, and day and night I paid so much attention to my language, and professors were happy that I was trying at least. So I made it. After then eventually I found a job that I was looking for many years. So I entered corporate America at early age, right? fortunately, I was very fortunate that I found a good manager, and the environment that was excellent. The job was more of a family-oriented environment, perhaps, that where I felt very comfortable. I had nobody here, but then those friends became my families, quite literally. Manager and all the co-workers, colleagues, sister and brothers, quite literally. It was amazing. I spent the holidays with them. So I enjoyed it more. I'm like, wait, okay, it's more fun than I thought it is, actually. Back in Connecticut, I met her, and from the job, of course, and it was just, she's from here, and we clicked. We had a few coffees together, and then that's where it started from. The third child, Zan, he was having to go to ER quite often, almost every once a week, skipping schools as well, had ear infections or nose infections and throats. Quite a few times he went to the hospital, and there was no solution. We couldn't find any solution. Often time he would get sick, we end up in the hospital for a few days, and the life was in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and we were very concerned as parents, and we had consulted with different doctors and second opinions and so forth. But the his pediatrics mentioned that we should try a different climate, perhaps. So one winter time, it was snowing. I came home, and I told my wife, how about if we go to Disney? So everybody got excited. They were like, yay, we had been waiting for that. And me, myself too, actually, I became suddenly a little child. I'm like, yes, let's go, pack up. So we all packed up, and the very evening we left, because I had vacation started just that very evening. So we all left. So everybody was excited. We were looking forward to having a good vacation. We enjoyed it, absolutely. So after a week, we were sitting down on iDrive somewhere in a restaurant, and I looked at my child, Zan, and he was very pink and looked very happy and enjoying it, every moment of it. And at that very moment, I looked at my wife and said, hey, honey, I think I quit. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I quit my job. And then, of course, the panic triggers right there. And but I sat down with her, and we spoke. And I said, well, let's have a plan. This is it. This is the climate that the doctor mentioned. And this is it. I'll find a job here, of course. Then that's what motivated me to move to Florida, not knowing the job or the market of a job, of course, here. But the most important thing was he was healthy, he was happy, and that was it. The decision was so easy. So before I moved down here, I started searching, of course, and researching about the job market. It was pretty hot and pretty nice, and green everywhere. Perhaps everyone has promised that no worries, before even you land here, you'll have a job and so forth. And indeed, absolutely, they were right. We got off the plane, and on the way to our vacation house, perhaps still, I did the interview over the phone, and I was hired on the spot. But then package wasn't discussed, and so salary was a bit lower than I was anticipating, or perhaps I got used to. Everyone wants to hire you with the resume you have, but the issue was the income. That being big family, I wanted to make sure that we had sufficient enough funds. So spent about a year searching the job that would fit, and not finding the level of income with the criteria of my resume. So then I decided to open up my own business. I knew I was excellent to what I do, and I knew inside and out. So I looked and I looked and I looked. I didn't find any offices around Haines City or in suburban areas where the IT company is out there. Everyone on 27 offices would need to hire someone from Orlando or Tampa. And so I started researching a lot, and got the company situated, corporation, and then finding the right location, perhaps, and having the right rent expenses. I had to work all of those things needed to be figured out prior to. I kept my hopes very low, And I decided that for the first 6 months, I will not see any income, which is quite all right. I can handle it. And then people would come in with the hesitation. They're not used to seeing an IT office with this scale, so they were hesitant to come in even. So one or two would come in, and I would make them comfortable, engage them as I'm just like them. And so I spoke to them, and after a while I started going outside, waving at people, engaging and having a conversation, and started making friends. And suddenly I saw a growth in business, and I started going door to door after that, realized that I need to implement my business motto. So I started going to door, office to office, and I found Chamber of Commerce, of course, and I introduced, and someone also from Chamber of Commerce came to our office here to introduce themselves, and she invited me to the office, so I went there. So we had a good conversation, and they hired us as their IT before even I signed up for a member. So they were very impressed, I'm sure, and we were able to help them. From then on, I started engaging more and more with Chamber of Commerce, of course. I realized this is the central location, perhaps, where everybody meets. So from there on, quite a few people actually came to me and asked me, how did I even start it? In Haines City, what are you doing in Haines City? How can you be so successful? Rather than them spending 6 months, I gave them everything I knew, and it helped them, and they are all successful business owners within Haines City. Right now we have 5 branches within the Central Florida. So those other 4 branches, at the moment, they are remote. We don't have any other headquarters besides this right here, branches, right? So my vision is to provide the quality services, right? There's a need for it. So at the moment, I am hiring quality certified people in IT who can serve the towns we are not in at the moment. Slowly but surely, we are building our team. A lot of people walk in here looking for a job, and they know quite a bit too, but unfortunately they are not certified. And to be able to work on the devices here or to send them out in the field, you must have that little piece of paper that makes me feel comfortable that you've covered the basics and you know how to handle a device. Very basics, right? The knowledge is the wealth, right? So education never ends. Keep getting more awareness in you about your own field. Every day I invest, even if it's half an hour. I dedicate myself to learn about my field, about my business. How can I make it better? How can I do if I can learn better, if I know my product better, I can service that better. Simple as that. The hardest thing to start a business. I had ideas, just like everybody else. I came up with the ideas every day, every hour, every minute, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do this and that and so forth. But what I did successfully, I executed one of my ideas, which is my passion, and that is IT business consulting, right? In the beginning, I did not realize how much time owning a business requires. I came from 9 to 5, right? So I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, I get my check and I'm all good. Absolutely wonderful, right? But no, owning a business is quite different. It is a good thing to owning a business, absolutely beautiful thing, right? The freedom and so forth. But then again, be very sincere and passionate about what you do, again, and to invest the proper time to the business. First few years, it took me so much efforts and times that I spent at my work. It felt as if I lived here for a long time, day and night, day and night. I didn't leave from here until sometimes midnight. Oftentimes, actually, I found myself here at 1 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my. So I had to just shut down everything and leave. Otherwise, I would be here all night and not being done, right? So I worked very hard, and I knew if I put in the proper time today, eventually I'll reap okay. And definitely, right now, after those few years, working very hard, day and night, I'm okay now. My plan was to slow down and have some sort of a disciplined life. Again, 9 to 5, right? So I achieved that goal last year in December. That's when I started. So in December, I decided that after Christmas and all the breaks that we had, I decided that I will not check my phone for more than 1 hour after 5 o'clock. I will turn it off or do a silent. And of course, not just shutting it off or going away from work. I have a plan, of course, in case something goes down to a client or this and that. Of course, there's always a protocol and 24 hours line. After investing so much time and efforts and dedications, still dedicated to my work very much indeed, perhaps, I decided it's time to go back to the family, of course, and myself, and to my wife, of course. We like to watch movies, we like to go out, just like everybody else, right? So we didn't do it for many years, a couple of years, at least good 2 years, we didn't do anything. So after disciplining myself, I told myself, I trained myself after 5 o'clock, 1 hour max, and that's it. Went back to the family and spending very quality time and helping the children with the homework and taking them to school in the morning and so forth. Regular routine now. The family support is quite important in a success of a person in a business, owning a business, right? So kids were very understanding, don't know how. Very understanding, absolutely. I didn't bribe them. And then the wife is absolutely your right hand. She supported immensely. Without her, I don't think I would be here where I am today, as successful perhaps. And of course, my children are wonderful, adorable kids, and without them, perhaps I wouldn't be as successful either. So the family support is very important. It's a teamwork. The hardest thing is to start, and that was the hardest thing. I didn't know the depth of the waters, right? Not knowing the clients, not knowing how much money we can make and whether we can float or not. Ideas comes, of course. Everybody has ideas. You gotta have ideas, you gotta have dreams, right? But pick something that you admire, that you love, that you have fun with, the passion, right? Once you figure that out, then everything else becomes so easy. Then you sit down and have a plan. Write things down. Start writing things down, right, on a piece of paper. And then you must know your financial situation. You must know your location. People say location, 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 right? It is absolutely important, locations, right? So all those things are very important, and believe in what you know. And don't panic. If someone criticizes you, take it as a very strong point. Learn from it and appreciate them. Make a call to them. Say, hey, thank you. Because of them, probably you are very successful.
That's all for this episode of Polk Entrepreneur. We'd like to thank Shayann Jones-Teris and Salman Siddiqui for sharing their stories of becoming entrepreneurs in Polk County. If you have a dream of starting your own business, there are many resources to help you get started. Contact the Polk County Board of County Commissioners today at 863-534-6000 or at polk-county.net to start making your dream a reality. Thanks for watching Polk Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Stephen Barnes. I'll see you next time.